So this lady is a lady that I met with the Master Gardeners. She got me in contact with the PBS people, and that's how I was able to be on the Central Texas Gardener episode. It aired in October. I will leave the link down below so y'all could see that video, and I will also link her video for Central Texas Gardener down below. But she's somebody that really inspires me when it comes to native landscapes and things like that. She's very knowledgeable when it comes to these type of things. So we just gonna be doing a quick little interview. I'm also gonna be taking y'all along for the journey because she's gonna be helping me with the nonprofit that I work with, and she's gonna be showing us a couple things that we can do for the land that we have. She has a very good eye for not only things that look beautiful, but they're also good for the environment. So we're just gonna showcase these things, and I'm not gonna overtalk y'all ear, but we gonna stay tuned.
Alrighty, so we back. I'm back with this clip. So this right here is Miss Natalie. I will let her introduce herself because she has done so much for me as well as the community so far. So I just want to allow her to introduce herself.
All right. Well, I am Natalie, and I had the privilege of meeting Lenny through Bell County, Texas Master Gardener program. And so I've been gardening for many years, and I really love it, and I love sharing about it, and I love talking to people who love sharing about it. So,
so Natalie, she also has her own YouTube channel where she goes over native plants. She kind of showed her transformation from the very beginning whenever she started her native landscaping to where it is now. She also has a couple videos on like collecting rainwater and things like that. So I'm gonna plug her channel down below, and I'm also put it on the screen so that y'all could go and check her out. But today, basically what we're gonna be doing is just a quick little Q&A. Gonna be asking her a few questions about her gardening journey. Y'all will be able to hear from a person who comes from a different area in gardening, and it may not be all about vegetables, but it also helps the environment. So these are things that you can implement because I have learned a lot of things from her that I have been able to implement. So the first question that I would like to ask is, how did you first start getting involved with just native landscaping?
well, I mean, I've been a gardener for many years, and I'm a veteran like you, and so I think I gardened because it was grounding, and I didn't realize it. And so, but as you start putting things in the ground and you start gardening, you have some failures. And then you start to ask, well, why are things failing? And so my initial goal was to create something beautiful and to really just slow down and appreciate the process. But then I wanted to create something resilient. And that's how I stumbled upon the native plants, because really these plants are adapted to our area to thrive. I mean, not just survive, but really thrive and provide beauty. And then as I went on, I saw all of the wildlife that was drawn in by many of these native plants, because you're kind of creating a bit of a habitat. And then that got me really hooked. And so I really have just created a space where all the bees, birds, and butterflies come, and I get to just watch them. And so that's why I guess I do it. But it has been a lot of trial and error. It's not an easy or perfect journey, but I think that's also part of what helps you grow and what grounds you.
Whenever you first began with this process, what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced?
Probably just my knowledge base, because I think all of us do the thing where we drive by a big box store, or maybe we drive by a local nursery and we see all the things that are blooming and we're like, I just want that. But you don't know that really there is a right place for a plant and a right soil type for a plant, and you really have to take those things into consideration to help them thrive. So I think my biggest challenge was just gaining that knowledge base to really create a hospitable environment for these plants.
So whenever you upped your knowledge base, what was one of the first things that you kind of went towards? Like what did you lean towards? Like trees, bushes, ground cover, just the aesthetic part? Like what is the thing that you more so lean towards?
Well, I think I do like things to look nice. And so I probably leaned heavy into aesthetics. And so I tend to group plants together in such a way that they just look good together. So I try to take into consideration the height or the texture variation or the color variation and what complements each other. Though I will say that as I've continued on, a lot of these plants, especially these natives, will readily reseed themselves. And so I'm now just like, if it's reseeded itself, I'm just going to let it hang out. And so I'm learning to be a lot more relaxed about that. Because, you know, really that's the best way to sort of, I guess, have the best outcome. If the plant has decided it's happy there to the point where it's reproducing itself there, then that's really what I want. And so I would say I probably am more aesthetically driven, but, you know, like I said, as I've progressed in the journey, I am learning to create or bring plants in that are host plants for certain types of wildlife. And so that's a whole nother knowledge base that I feel like I'm lacking in, but learning slowly but surely.
There was something you were telling me about with like registering your lawn as on a certain website or something. Can you talk about that?
So the website is Homegrown National Park, and it is a organization that is run, I think, by Doug Ptolemy, who's actually, I think, an entomologist or like a bug person, if I'm saying that right. But his whole philosophy is to create not just a landscape, but a habitat, and reducing your lawn size so that you can pull in plants that are going to really be more beneficial to that habitat. So I registered my my property, my lot here, and initially, I mean, this was all grass, so much grass, very little, a few areas for foundation plantings. But gradually throughout the years, because I think we've been at this property now for 5 or 6 years, little by little, I have shrunk my lawn size, which means more water conservation. And it also means more habitat, but also from an aesthetic standpoint, because, you know, I do love pretty, it's way prettier, you know, to have all the color variation and the diversity in the perennials and things like that. So, but yeah, so Homegrown National Park is the name of the website. You can register your property and put it in what your goal is and kind of track it along the way.
Cool. And so this may be one of the final questions we ask before we start doing the tour of the place. So I understand you live in an HOA, and you were just talking about reducing the lawn size. How did you actually like calculate those things to where you were still in compliance with the HOA, but you were still able to do kind of what you want to do?
Well, I think every HOA is different, and I actually think this one is changing. So the initial covenant said that you had to maintain 80% lawn, and then, you know, I guess the rest you could do 20% landscaping. And so I did that. I used Google Maps. I took a satellite image of my home and kind of got the square footage and just sort of measured it out that way. And then, you know, there's a process. Every HOA is different, but you got to submit your proposal. Sometimes you have to have visual rendering. So I actually I think I used iScapes. And so you take a picture and you can just kind of plug plants in, give them an idea what it looks like. And so because I'm on a corner, the other issue is where I sort of did my most recent reduction. My house is on the corner, and I really didn't worry so much, I think, about the backyard in terms of HOA regulation, but really that front yard and the curb appearance is a big deal. But so is visibility. So if you turn that corner, you have to be able to see what's coming. And so I did have to make sure that those plants maintained were lower in height at their max growth. So it was a lot to consider, but it was a great process because I learned a lot along the way, and that helped me help other people who maybe had similar questions. But I'm getting ready. I'm hoping to be able to submit another 2,000 square foot lawn reduction for this fall. So I'll have to submit that in the summer, and then I'll do that hopefully if it gets approved in the fall. And so it's just, you just put one foot in front of the other and you kind of work together. And I think things are changing. And I think once people see that it doesn't have to be something crazy looking, you know, that really it can be visually pleasing, right. I think HOAs and other residents in the HOA become a little bit more open-minded to it. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I want to touch on something that you were saying too, like you were saying the water reduction. You don't have to water as much. So that means it's not as much maintenance required. There may be a setup maintenance, but whenever you begin, you're saving water. Not only that, but you're attracting native wildlife. And so those are two of the biggest things when it comes to the ecosystem and preserving what we have going on here.
Yeah.
And so for the people who may think that it's a lot of maintenance or it may be kind of hard to get into, it's not too hard to get into because you are doing something that nature is already prepared for. The plants that are going into the ground are things that the ground already likes. You're not trying to, like with a vegetable garden, you have to put so much maintenance into it because these things don't normally grow where we're trying to make them grow. But with native plants, you can still benefit the ecosystem. Your neighbor may grow squash, and you having all of these native plants around will help the squash be pollinated for your neighbor. So think about things like this.
Absolutely, that's a really good point.
So now we're just going to try to get into the tour.
All right. All right, so I wanted to share my top 3 native perennials for Texas, and I think these will work in many different ecoregions. The first one is autumn sage, and I believe the scientific name for this is Salvia greggii. And these have many different varieties. This one's a red one, but they have white, pink, and there's even other color varieties. This is a 3 by 3 foot shrub and primarily evergreen, especially in warmer climates. So you have interest all year long with this plant. And it is very drought tolerant. Now, once it's the heat of the summer, a lot of our natives will stop flowering, right? Because they're just working on staying alive. But if you want to see it bloom, you just give it a little water and it'll certainly perk up and give you some more flowers. And behind it is my other, one of my other favorite perennials. This is mealy blue sage. And this is a very drought tolerant plant, very vigorous grower, loved by pollinators. And like I said, this one is so low maintenance. And a matter of fact, it grows so vigorously that I often have to prune this like twice in a growing season. It readily reseeds itself. So I've got several, like I've got them here, got one here, and I've got several here that are just growing from volunteers. And so, and the bees absolutely love it. This is another favorite plant. This is called Zexmenia, very drought tolerant. It's just getting ready to flower. I mean, you can see all those little buds there. It has these yellow daisy-like blooms, and this will get about 2.5 feet in height, but quite a spread, like maybe 3 feet in spread, and a very beautiful mounding habit. And I love these rigid stems because little finches get on there and they just eat the seeds. Once the flower heads go to seed, they're out here just perched on these and eating seeds. And so it's just a joy to watch that. So this is probably like my favorite, my prized specimen in my garden. This is a golden ball lead tree. And this is an ornamental tree that is native to the Edwards Plateau region. And what that means to me is it probably needs very good drainage. And so I heavily amended my soil with expanded shale to facilitate that because I've got pretty clay, thick soil. And so it's deciduous, but it will flower with these beautiful yellow flowers all throughout the growing season. And they're just so cheerful. And so, but yeah, this is, I think it's 3rd growing season, and it is just so full of flowers. I've never seen it flower this much, but that's how a lot of our natives are. They kind of follow that crawl, walk, run cycle. So the 1st growing season, they're just getting established, and the 2nd, they'll do a bit better. But by that 3rd growing season, They are coming out of dormancy quicker. They're just going to perform better for you. And they're a lot more drought tolerant. When it comes to landscaping, you don't have to put everything in the ground. If you're trying to create a little height somewhere, you can like raise it up, put it in a container, and you can do it that way. And so this is a yucca, and these do really well here. It's currently infested with some sort of beetle that I've been putting diatomaceous earth on. So you can kind of see it's got some of the foliage is a little spotty from that, but these yucca generally do very well in our area, and they're evergreen, and many times, depending on the species you get, they also flower. So, there's a lot of great options when it comes to natives. You can really think outside of the box in terms of how you use them. But these are a great way to make the brownest thumb green, because they will do you right. So thanks for listening to me, and thanks, Lenny, for letting me get out here and talk to your subscribers. And like I said, Homegrown National Park is a really great website. So is Central Texas Gardener, if you're looking to figure out how to take that native plant journey.
Peace. And I just want to make sure I give a special shout out for this interview. I'm very thankful to Miss Natalie, the plant ninja, for coming on my channel and speaking to y'all. I hope y'all got a lot out of the information that she's given. I hope this helps inspire y'all. I know I don't do a whole lot of talking about natives and stuff like that, so this is a good addition to the channel. In the future, we will be collaborating on her channel, but this is just the first video that we've done together, and I really love how it went. Comment down below if y'all would like to see us to continue to collab. And all I want to say is, remember, it's a beautiful day to garden.
Draining all your energy, better pull them like a weed. Undefeated in life, shit, I sprouted like a seed.